Good morning, everybody. As you have probably already realized, it is not so easy to classify me today. I'm free. This is maybe the best way of qualifying me. I have been, yes, in the Commission from a long time, so I have merited what my real situation today. So I'm speaking, of course, in my own name today, no on the name of the Commission or even, but cobaly gives me the license to speak on the name of cobaly, so probably it is maybe the case. Okay, my objectives this morning is divided in several segments. The first one is on construction products. Pascal Barre and myself will try to explain to you the CPR, the Construction Products Regulation. My objective this morning is to try to have you, after 1 or 2 hours, to have you a little bit more better positioned concerning the knowledge you have about the CPR. It's not so easy. I invite maybe cobaly to make a test after you have been very hardly working in these countries you have listed there. Make an experience and try to know what is the real application of the CPR in these countries. It's not so easy. It's not so easy to understand. It's not so easy to apply. Or even it's easier to apply, as Pascal will tell you about the obligations of each of the actors. My presentation will be about I would say, the concept and the instruments, so the CPR. The title speaks also in relation with the Construction Products Directive. I will try to forget the Construction Products Directive. We are in the times of this Construction Products Regulation, so it's time to go on without reference to the directive. What is good to know is that what was done under the directive is valid. Almost all is still valid. In particular, I will speak about the standards, the harmonized standards. Broadly speaking, even if someone in the Commission now, I think, differs from this opinion, but my personal opinion is almost all is still applicable and valid and legal. So manufacturers do not need radical changes in the standards in order to be in conformity with the regulation. So this is the main, I think the main issue concerning the Construction Products Directive. It is valid. The work that has been done is very good, is important, and it's still valid under the CPR. Under this general introduction, I will give you the summary in order not to be lost during the presentation. I will give you some, 2 figures only about the economic importance of the sector in order to know what are we speaking about from economic point of view. Then I will try to make you some elements of differentiation between you have probably, I was not here yesterday, you have heard yesterday about the general CE marking framework, new approach in particular, and the differences with the CPR or the construction sector, the Construction Products Regulation. It is important to know these differences. During 20 years, people have been confusing these 2 different approaches. So this is important once for all to know clearly, because it is a clear difference and not difficult to understand. Then I will enter in the rationale for the CPR. Why the CPR is what it is, and which logic is the CPR following. When you enter within this logic, it's easier to follow. So this is my permanent work, is to try people to understand the logic, the rationale. And finally, I will give you the dispositif, or the operational instruments that are at the service of the objectives of the CPR. So first, the economic importance of the sector. It is a very important sector from the economic point of view. It's about 3% of the GDP. 3% of the GDP is about 20% of the industrial sector, which is a lot. And the same more or less concerning the employment. So we are speaking about a very important sector from the economic point of view. So it is very important that the single market is completed concerning this sector. We all believe that the single market is, economically speaking, very good, is the instrument, the main instrument of industrial policy. The single market is something that nobody puts into question. Other things are often put into question. The single market is something that is economically speaking is non-contested. So having a big sector as this one is very important to realize the single market in order to have the economic efficiency also completed. This was and still is a very regulated sector at national level. And as effect of these regulations, you can see in every member state, but some in particular, I will not mention them, but you can imagine a galaxy of national marks, which really constitute an obstacle, or very important obstacles to the single market. And this is the objective of the CPR, to abolish, and I am formal, abolish the national marks in order to have the single market functioning correctly. We have not, even if the important progress has been accomplished with the CPD, we have not been totally successful in that. So there are still national marks. We were still fighting. The last day of my work in the Commission was still about this kind of fight against national marks. And we have some important, I would say, cases in the Court of Justice against important European member states concerning national marks still enforced. So this is the situation. Now, a word only to differentiate, a reminder concerning the general CE marking regime, or as I said before, notably the new approach directives. The new approach is very easy to understand. It's a very simple scheme. The objective is the single market, and the operational scheme is to abolish the obstacles to the single market. So where are the obstacles to the single market? In the national regulations, in the national marks, whose objective was to guarantee the safety of the products, safety of toys, well, safety of consumers, but having safe toys, safe machines, etc. So the logic is immediate. Instead of having national regulations guaranteeing the safety, you put that at the European level, and you define the conditions for safety at the European level. And these conditions are called essential requirements. What does it mean, essential requirements? Essential requirements are the conditions, the requirements that a machine or a toy or a personal equipment has to fulfill in order to be safe. So how to place these products on the market? You fulfill the essential requirements, you demonstrate the conformity of the product with the essential requirements, You put a CE marking to reflect that your product is in conformity with the essential requirements, and you place the product on the market. It's as simple as that. Now, what is the role of harmonized standards in this process, in the general framework? The standards is to facilitate this conformity. They are not compulsory. They are something that are there, that have been elaborated under a mandate from the Commission by Sense and Elect, and then they are there. If manufacturers follow the standards, they are sure that they have the presumption of conformity. So it's to facilitate the life of the manufacturers. But the scheme is essential requirements, conformity with the essential requirements, CE marking to demonstrate that you comply with the essential requirements and place it on the market. So it's very simple. Now, the CPR is a little bit different. Why is it different? Because the products we are dealing with are different. The construction products are not consumer products. The construction products are not sold to the consumers, but to the, I would say, not manufacturers, but to the contractors, to the architects, to the user. So what are the elements of the construction product market? Because the objective, don't forget, is the single market. So how the market works, and where are the obstacles, and how to deal with these obstacles. What can define the market for construction products? Let's try to define these elements. The first, of course, is the construction product. As I said, they are intermediate products. They are not consumption products. So it's a product whose objective is to be incorporated in a building or in a bridge or in other civil engineering work. A construction product has to be fit for that use. How to define the fitness for use is in terms of performance. Why in terms of performance? Because the function the product has to fulfill in the building is defined in terms of performance. For example, a window. If you want to have a very performing window from the point of view of thermal capacity or acoustic insulation capacity, you are going to define what is your objective in terms of insulation. It is being defined and with a parameter which is called lambda, etc., in terms of level of performance. So if you want to buy this kind of window, you go to the market and you will have to analyze to see if this window is the window you are looking for. So the window has to bear this information. So this is the kind of product as is defined by the performance in order to fulfill the function that it will have to fulfill in the building or in the bridge. A second element is the user of the product. Who is the user of the product? Is the architect, is the contractor, is someone who is responsible for the whole works, for the building, for the bridge, and then he has full interest in having the product which is capable to perform as it is expected. So, as I said before, to ensure this correct use of the product, the user needs information about the characteristics and the performance. So the product and the user. And finally, or maybe before, the supplier of the product. So the manufacturer, the importer, or the distributor. They supply on the market, and when making the product available on the market, they should provide the buyer with necessary information, as mentioned. So these are the elements of the construction products market. Of course, we have other elements, the ones fixing what is called in economics the framework conditions. for example, the authorities, national authorities may define what can be the threshold performances for the window, or the threshold performances for the load-bearing products, etc. So these are the elements that compose the market. So these actors, but I will come back later on, they have to communicate, and this is the problem that we have to solve by the construction products, the regulation. And so this information is contained where? What are the elements that will give the manufacturer the possibility to estimate the performance, and the buyer the possibility to inform himself of the performance. So we have the harmonized technique. We have to find first a language. So which language are they people going to speak? So we have to invent this technical language. And what is this language? This is the standards. They are the standards and the ETA. So I will come back to that. But the harmonized standards are precisely the technical language that the user and the buyer and the manufacturer or supplier understand and use. So the harmonized standards here are different. We see already. The harmonized standards are not given conformity with nothing. The harmonized standards here are only a language, a technical language. We'll come back to that. Then we need a harmonized way of communicating those performances. And this is the declaration of performance. The regulation established that everybody has to use the technical language through the same vehicle is the declaration of performance and the CE marking. We'll come back to that as well. And finally, we need to have the system reliable. We need also a harmonized system of allocation of tasks. In other words, we need a harmonized system that establish which is the third-party intervention first in the assessment of the performance and what we call verification of constancy of the performance. So these are the elements of the communication: the language, the way of communicating, and the third-party intervention for increasing the reliability. So in summary, we have the objective, the single market for construction products. We have the actors, manufacturers, distributors, importers, users, authorities. Pascal will speak about that, about the obligations of these actors in the next presentation. And finally, we have the operating scheme, the instruments that this harmonized system of communicating between actors is using. The declaration of performance is then the way of communicating. It's very important that every manufacturer has the same way of communicating the performance of the product. That's why the regulation insists on that and defines, I would say very concretely, what is the declaration of performance. The declaration of performance is compulsory. It's compulsory if a harmonized standard covers this product, if a harmonized standard exists for this product. Well, the Article 4 adds, or an ETA has been issued. Forget for the time being about that. If a harmonized standard exists, the declaration of performance is compulsory. Now, what is the content? What to put in the declaration of performance? First, the use or uses of the product. But the use has to be defined in the harmonized standard. Uses may be a lot. For example, it is a very difficult concept. But what is the use of a window? You can say it is for insulating. is an insulating instrument. You can say it's for the buildings of only one floor. You can define the use that you want. It is up to Senelec to define the use of a product, but you should define the use in the most, I would say, fair way. For a window, for example, it up to me to define. I would say this is for insulating. Because what is the function of a window in the building? Is isolation. But it can be defined otherwise. No, you don't agree with me. Perfect. No problem. But it is only an example to say that the use is not something that is predefined by the regulation. It is up to the technical people and the people who are in the market really to define in the best way. But once it's defined, this is the way that the manufacturer, when making the declaration of performance, has to use. Then it has also to declare the list of essential characteristics for each intended use, for each use. That is something that the standard should also define. Once, because the product may have different uses. So this is one way to solve the problem. So we can define the window is for different uses. And then for each use, the standard has to define the essential characteristics which are related with each of these uses. And finally, something that the regulation has not completely, or at least in a most satisfactory way, solved, is for which characteristics the manufacturer has to declare the performance. In other words, for which characteristics the product has to be tested in order to declare the performance. This is money, this is cost, so this is difficult to predetermine before knowing which is the product. So I would say the legislative people, that means Parliament and the Council, decided that at least one of these characteristics has to be declared with the performance. So at least one of the declared characteristics for this characteristic the performance has to be declared. Is not a satisfactory solution, because which one? I don't know. It's up to the manufacturer to decide. But there is something that in this context I have total confidence on, is the market. If I am a manufacturer, I have to know what are my potential customers. I have to know what are the exigencies, the requirements, what they want to have. So I have to accommodate to the conditions of the demand. So I will decide, me, manufacturer, on two criteria. One is the legal one. If the authorities where I intend to place my product in the market require certain information, I have to declare this. If not, I cannot go to this country, because I will be in a legal situation. That is the first point. But this is really not very often. The authorities have plenty of regulations, but very rarely they define the levels to be fulfilled. So this is not really a criterion that will guide the manufacturer. The criteria are the requirements of the user. What is the market requiring? And then, okay, this is a question of business. So that's why I say that for the others, the manufacturer will decide depending on his commercial interest. How the declaration of performance has to be supplied? That was a very big debate in the Council and in the Parliament, and we have three possibilities. Now the three are already, I think, possible. The manufacturer may decide to join a copy, a paper copy of the declaration of performance with the product he places on the market. He may decide to send by email or by fax, it is the regulation said electronic means, to the buyer. Or now I think it is possible, because the delegated act has been already adopted by the Commission some weeks ago. It has been published, I think, and now it is possible now to use a website for the declaration of performance. But the recipient may always request it to be supplied in a paper form. So these are the possibilities concerning the way in which the declaration of performance may be supplied. What about the CE marking? Because we have the declaration of performance and then we have also the CE marking. The CE marking is, you can read the Article 8, it is very clear on that. The CE marking is compulsory once the declaration of performance has been drawn up. What is the meaning of the CE marking in this case? Because you remember that in the case of new approach, for example, the meaning of the CE marking was the conformity with the essential requirements. Here we have not essential requirements, so it cannot be that. So you read the Article 8.2 and it is clear as well. By affixing the CE marking, the manufacturers indicate that they take the responsibility that the product he places on the market or he makes available on the market conforms with the declaration of performance. This is mainly the meaning of the CE marking. It's saying my declaration of performance, I take the responsibility that it is correct and the real performance of the product corresponds with the declared performance. Something that is I would say, a consequence of that, because is the prohibition of all other marks related with the essential characteristics. I mean, remember that the essential characteristics are the characteristics of the product as they are related in the harmonized standard. In relation with these characteristics, no other mark than the CE marking may be used, with one exception or two exceptions if you want. The immediate exception is, you remember that we have defined the assessment of the performance and verification of constancy of the performance, and we have spoken about the third-party intervention. We have, as we will see afterwards, 5 possibilities, 5 degrees of the intervention of third party. We go from the no intervention at all to the system where I would say full intervention of the third party for all the steps. Now, if you have a product for which, for example, there is no intervention of the third party, you place the product on the market, you can use a voluntary mark, if you want, to express that in your case, you have called a third party, you have used a third party, for example, a certification of the product, because you go beyond what is legally obligatory. So in this case, you can use a voluntary mark for expressing this, for transmit this information, which is maybe important for the user, that you are certifying, for example, your product, and you are not obliged. So you will have in the market products without third-party intervention and products with third-party intervention, the same product. For distinguish between these two products, you can use a voluntary mark. This is the exception, and then the regulation also speaks about some special information that you want to pass to the user concerning some specific risk or danger of the product. I understand that this is concerning dangerous substances or concerning environmental related issues. It is not clear, but this is the way I think it should be interpreted. Then we have the Article 9 imposes also information to be provided with the CE marking. Well, this is an article that, in my opinion, is not good, because in my opinion is duplicating the information that has been already provided with the Declaration of Performance. But nevertheless, the article is there and it has to be applied, it has to be fulfilled. And this you can see the list of information, notably the declared performance, as you declared already in the Declaration of Performance. This is what says Article 9, but I repeat, for me, this is something that was not really necessary. Now we go very quickly, I think I have to finish, with the three instruments that the CPR defines concerning the technical language. First, the harmonized standards, as I said before. You have a very clear explanation what the harmonized standards are in this case, because again, harmonized standards differ, I would say, completely from the harmonized standards in the context of the new approach. Here, harmonized standards, as it is said in Article 17, contain methods for assessing the performance of the products covered by it. Methods. They also have to contain the criteria for applying the methods and interpreting the results. You have all the technical package you need for assess the product and interpret the results. This is in the harmonized standard. As I said before, intended use, but something that it is written in the regulation, in my opinion, it is so obvious if provided in the mandate. I can't imagine a mandate without defining a use, and so I have to contradict myself, something that I said before, that I gave this responsibility to the harmonized standards writers, and now the regulation said, no, it is up to the Commission people, because it's the Commission that elaborates the mandate. I think things are a little bit confused here, but hopefully the technical people will have the last word, because the mandate may always be revised as at the request of the manufacturers or at the request of Senelec. So intended use, and then something that in principle it is better not to include in the standards, levels and classes. I will distinguish levels and classes. Classes may be, in my opinion, classes may be very useful, practical, because you can have classes of performance, and then it can be cost saving for the manufacturer. It's easier to put your product in a class than probably to give a level. But anyway, it all depends also about the kind of test or product or method that the standard is proposing. Levels, we refer here, of course, to the threshold levels. The standards may include threshold levels, that minimum performance of the product, but only if they are included in the mandate. The mandate asks them to provide this. And finally, very important, a detailed factory production control scheme to be applied by the manufacturer. For the products not covered by this standard, by the harmonized standard, what happens? Or so-called innovative products. in principle, the standards should also be applied to innovative products, because the standard contain methods, and the methods in principle should be, I would say, technique neutral, or neutral in relation to the technology. So the innovative or to material, to material the products are made of. So in principle, the standard should also cover innovative products, but sometimes this is not possible. So for some innovative products, or for products which are not covered by the standard, we have an alternative route, which is foreseen in the CPR, and this is the so-called ETA route, European Technical Assessment route, always on a voluntary basis. So if a product is not covered by the standard, the manufacturer will decide if he wants to have a European technical assessment, or he prefers to have a national technical assessment. So he has a choice, going European or going national, when the standard does not exist. So the product will be assessed by means of a European technical assessment, which will be issued by a technical assessment body on the basis, always on the basis of a document, in order to guarantee the transparency. The regulation calls this European assessment document. And this applies also to the cases where the ETA may be issued on the basis of a former document under the CPD called ETAC. This is something that is still under discussion. I tell this in my own responsibility, but this is the way I think this should be interpreted. Always, there has to be always a document on the basis of which the ETA has to be elaborated. Assessment and verification of constancy of performance, and this is the last slide. As I said before, this is to have the system reliable, to increase the confidence of the system. There are different levels of intervention of the third party. In each of the two differentiated steps, the first one is the assessment of the performance by means, as I said before, of the methods foreseen in the harmonized standard or in the European assessment document. And then what the regulation calls, the verification of constancy of performance. You have to be sure that, because you test your product for the initial type testing, for example, then you need to guarantee that these performances are repeated constantly. So all the products you fabricate maintain the performance that you declare, for which you have tested the product before. For that, there are methods that are foreseen in the standards defining the factory production control in order to guarantee this constancy of performance. As I said before, there are 5 systems from no intervention, which is the system 4, to the full intervention, which is the system 1+. And voilà, this is all I wanted to tell you this morning. Thank you very much.